So you've built your first report, haven't you? You've got a report, we've published it, right? Invariably, what's going to happen is we're going to end up with lots of duplication, bad structure. So how do we actually start to rationalize that, bring things back together, and actually make a proper report from what was going on beforehand? Alright everyone, weekend work. Right, this is a good one. So a while ago, right, we did one of the last Dataset series that we did was around New York Taxi data. And I thought this is a great example of the kind of thing that I've seen many times in the real world, as it were. Right, a data set or a report pack that's been built, and you can imagine we've gone through different iterations as we went through the different weeks of discussing it, right? And now we want to get to that next stage, or we need to clean it up and fix it and just make it look a bit neater and tidier, right? And maybe our standards have evolved, because they have. The way I do things, the way that we're telling you to do things now is a bit different. So it's probably worth changing that. And then I thought as well, we should have a week, and we're going to do the last week of this. We'll probably look and see if we can do it with direct query against data flows, now that that's a thing. So we'll see how we can go about it and see if we can make this look a little bit better. So let's head on over to the Power BI service and see what it looks like at the moment. Alright, so here we are, yeah. This is not my finest area, okay. When we're doing this, we're building everything into a single workspace, okay. Just trying to keep everything compact. And then we had the issue, well, not so much the issue, but it became clear that, well, looking at 2019 and 2020 data just side by side, we couldn't do it. So then rapidly throwing in another 2 years of data, pushing it all together, you kind of end up with a bit of a mess. So the first thing that we're going to need to do really is going to be to let's work out how we split this out. Okay, and we can do that pretty simply. I think we all know now. So we can create a workspace just for our data set to go into. And if we have a look, we can see that I've started that process. So I'm going to go and we'll do the rest over time, and I'll show you next week when it's time to start showing you that bit. Okay? But the nice thing is, what we're going to do is we're going to fix all these data flows that we've got, standardize it all. We're just going to look at the yellow taxi data. It's going to be 2017, 2018, 2019 and 2020. I've had a look online, and so far there still isn't anything in for 2021. If it appears, we can add it in, right? The point of this is to come up with a strategy that's going to allow us to future-proof how we do it. Right? Part of that, one of the things I want to do, and one of the things that I'm trying to test at the moment, is actually a direct import. So at the moment we know there's a website that's got all the files on, and we're having to manually download them, put them onto our OneDrive, and then from OneDrive combine them through the data flows. But then even that didn't work, and we were still having to divide them up into multiple ones per year. So I don't think we're going to get away from the multiple ones per year just because of the structures of this. It's not database driven. So that just crunching the numbers, it just takes too much time to do. The nice thing with data flows, and one of the saving graces that they offer you, is you can bring everything through, load it, and then save the resulting table. And that's the brilliance of them, that ETL side, that you're taking that raw data from one or many tables, chugga, combining it until you've got like the table structure that you need for your data model. Or multiple samples. So a lot of the ones I do, and I've noticed this, loads of the ones I do on these videos, there seem to be like multiple ones, right? You can put multiple tables into one and have your full model in one data flow. Right? Also, the capability of splitting them, I like it as well. You can see I use it a lot. But understanding the tools that are available to you is key. One thing that came out in the June edition of Power BI Desktop, the June edition, is this ability to do direct query against data flows. So that'll be something we'll try and see, because a lot of this, what we're really wanting to know is more direct query interest than anything else. But we'll compare and contrast that and have a look and see how it works. it's key to be able to understand what's happening. It's not so much of a value add to see how it goes, but if it prevents us having to have big chunks of data here, there, and everywhere. Because if we have a look, and I've done some rough calculations, I was looking at this. This is kind of the sort of thing I would do. Right? In reality, it's on my notepads here. Right? My rocket books that I love. Right? But I've just done something in whiteboard here, just to kind of show you. So we've got the idea that we can go in, and we've got the journey there. Will be the first thing. So our journey is going to be our main data point that we've got. We're going to have date information. So we've got the pickup date and the drop-off date, and then the time of day for that. But we'll just use hour, right? I think numbers 0 to 24 or 0 to 23 as the hours. It's a more efficient number, and frankly, is there a value add from knowing it was at 9:05 or 9:15? Is that going to make a huge difference to my data set? I don't think it will. So I thought that's kind of key. The time of day, realistically, we're going to try and group that, aren't we? But I thought the first time I did it, we grouped it in 6-hour bundles. 6-hour bundles, is that right? Yeah. So you had like midnight to 6 a.m. and then you had 6 a.m. to midday. It was 4 hours, I can't remember. But yeah, I had it bundled it up in things, and I thought, well, is that right? Is that not right? If we go with the hours, we can make the choice down the line. We can change that. We can put different things in. We can have like a granularity for what that time will mean, right? And we can talk about the time dimension as well when we get to that. Then we've got like the 3 key areas here as well, yeah. So we've got like the tips. So what percentage tips are people getting? We've got like the total dollars. So actually, what's the total fare amount? And I was looking through, there's like other things, extras in there. I thought, well, total is probably the right one, but I might go with a different number value there. But I'm trying to keep the number of columns in this main journey down. And then we're going to have the location, pickup ID, and the drop-off ID. Now, we've just got like a region kind of area for that. The earlier data sets do have GPS coordinates, but I think for obvious reasons, I think we all agree, it's probably pretty bad to be sharing, hey, I had a pickup of a taxi from this place to that place at this time of night. It's, yeah. So that's been got rid of. But what we can do is we can do that. And the piece I want to do with that is there's an average distance I want to work out. Because I want to be able to kind of do like a distance calculation. So what's the average journey distance that people are going? And distance on its own, it's too variable. So it's distance in miles, and it just feels like, I don't know. We'll see, but we'll see. So we might put distance in. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Let's put distance in here. Distance. Okay. So we can put distance in. Okay. The next thing we need to think through is sheer quantity of data that we're having to go through. Right. So each month, the monthly files for this, the CSV files, it's about 500 megabytes. Right. So that's 6 gigabytes per year. And we're going to bring in 4 years of data. 2020 is obviously a bit of a weird data set, so I don't know. So I'm going to allow, say, 2 gig for that. But either way, we're looking at like around 20 gigabytes of raw data that we're going to be pulling in for this. Right. So now we're heading into real enterprise territory where you have major retailers. Oh, far too much data for everyone. Far too much. Power BI never cope. Right. It will, right? And I'm going to show you how it'll cope. Right? The main thing to do with Power BI is to be aware of the structures that you're using. So when people talk about these multi-million row data sets, billion row data sets, that they talk about, what they're really meaning is narrow. It's based around a narrow column of data. So with this, what we're looking at is potentially too bad. I'm not sure this is going to work. This is the issue we've got. One thing we might drop is going to be like the drop-off date time or the pickup date time. Tell you what, put a comment down below. Which one would you rather we kept if we have to drop one? But things like that, it's kind of, does it make a difference? Do I care from an analytics perspective that, hey, I picked you up at midnight and dropped you, or just before midnight and dropped you off just after? Is that a thing? that I need to think about. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's one of those questions that I'll look at. We'll probably look at the data and see, right, is this based on pickups? Is it based on drop-offs in terms of the date time for the monthlies? Right? I've got a feeling it's drop-off, but would need to double check. It might well be it's pickup. It's, but anyway, right? That's the sort of thing that we're going to do. And the goal of this is to come up with a nice strategy. And I'll do like some, we'd have like an internal document to say, right, this is what we need to do for each month, the data set that's going to come in. With something like this, we're never going to be able to fully automate it, largely because this comes down to, this actually comes down to file names, and they're stored on AWS, so Amazon Web Services. And I had a quick look across a couple of years, and you can see if we bring this in, there's a different format to the URL. So I can't just put in some automation and have it go. But equally, if we've got to put a data flow together for every 4 months, we can, we're doing adding a month. Right? What I've done, or what we can do, because we know we're going to have to do it this way, is it'll be a function-driven process. So a function with a couple of attributes. It looks like the change is done each year, or for as yearly values if they change the AWS location. So once they put it on Amazon Web Services, it's not moving. It's basically the key thing. So as long as we're sensible with what we do and think about year boundaries as when there is going to be a change, I think we should be fine. So at that point, the next question would be, right, each month, right, you have to go to this table, add a row for the file name that we'd expect, right? And it would be the one we'd expect. And honestly, for me, I've just gone through and just delete, add the right number, right, for the month. Not rocket science. Right? A little bit of effort, I could probably completely automate it if I really wanted to. The main thing is there's no benefit, because it's just, it'll take you longer to automate it than it's going to go delete that. And you need to check it works anyway. Then, of course, we know once those 4-month fields are refreshed, it's going to be locked. It's not going to be updated, so we're good to go with that. It all kind of works. It makes sense, but we just need to dot the I's and cross the T's with this. And be aware that we're looking at potentially quite a sizable amount of data. 20 gigabytes is an awful lot. Okay? And the last thing that we need to figure out and do is really what we've got, or what you'll always have with these report content, is secondary reports, right? So we've got to work out how can we keep the secondary reports. And the other things we're going to have to try and figure out how to keep is some of these primary reports. So the content with the primary report is all together. And we know that's a bad thing, and that's one of the things we keep saying, don't put report content with the data. You want to keep the two separate. So I call them secondary reports. Microsoft are calling them thin reports. Honestly, when they first came out, they didn't have a name. No one gave us a name, so we started calling them secondary reports, because to me the primary report is what's attached to the data set. I get it, but I'm not comfortable with terms like fat report and thin report. Okay, I'm down with the people and all that. So what we've got now is this report content, which I think is brilliant, and I do love this slider here, or this time brush visual. I think it works really well with this amount of data, where you can just pick and quite easily pick a range of data, or focus in and see, hey, what happened in that chunk of time there. That's something that'd be really difficult to do, I think, with slicers. We've got some great measures in here as well. So like this New York Taxi journeys between is essentially a measure. Oh, okay, it's a link to go to. I forgot about that. I did lots of good things with this. So this taxi journeys between is obviously it's a link, isn't it? Or not a link. So it's a measure that allows you to go back and forth and deal with stuff. Obviously, you can see as well, we need to update the new, or the report pack that's available and published on the internet for everyone to have a look at. I think it's just a big long link across the top, I think. Yeah. Got a hidden button. So all of these things just need to be reviewed. But the first thing is going to be, let's get the data feeds put back together and updated, which is normal. Right? Then you've got to start working through and say, right, I now need to tell everyone what's happening, or set something up that's going to allow me to go in, pull all this data together, so we can go in, we've got the summaries, we've got all the information available. That's easy to do. It's all in one report pack, because this is going to be the public one, but we'll strip out and make it separate from the data. We're going to have the public report that's then available for everyone, and we're going to have the more private areas, or the more internal areas we can do other stuff with as well. And then we should be all good, don't you think? So what do you reckon then? Okay. In terms of doing this and the way that this works with your data and with your business, right, this is a reality that I see happen an awful lot. Right? Power BI is not a one and done solution. We've done it, and we then have to continually iterate, work on it, improve it, and manage it. And it's not a case of, oh, it's broke, I've got to do stuff to keep it running. It's a case of, you're going to have to go, oh, this is really good, but, oh, this is really good, but, right? And thinking through how you manage those requests is important. Right? Getting to the point where you're really comfortable with the idea of secondary reports or thin reports is vital for you. Because that, hey, it would be really good if you could do this, is even better if you can go, well, I'll tell you what, right, I can do it for you today, right, with about 80% of the data, 85% of the data, because you've probably got most of what they're asking for, right? And here you go, with a thin report connected to your data set already, right? And that's what we did for a big FTSE 100 when they suddenly, with the COVID crisis taking off, and it was like, oh, you know, we need a COVID report, what's going on? We were able to look, we had other reports based around people, it was actually to do with a lot of their IT estate and their IT reporting, that enabled us to know, well, this is where the people are based because these are their home offices or the offices that they're based out of, which we could then marry up with the Johns Hopkins data. And that was the case of, it was a 24-hour turnaround to get the first dashboard to people, as opposed to it being, right, we've got to find the data, where we're going to get it, right? It was, you've got it already. And that 80% goes a long way, because if you, what you find is, well, you know, it'd be really good if I knew this as well, but yeah, this is key. And they might get it and go, oh, I was wrong, or oh, I need this instead. Right? And you'll find it's a very different way of working once you start to bring and consolidate on data sources. But invariably what you'll find is that you will always, you know, like what we're doing with this set, where we've found that data set that's built and it's kind of evolved and just kind of become this horrible mess. And at some point you're going to have to do some housekeeping on it. So we're going to go through and do housekeeping for a few weeks, because I think that's important, isn't it? So don't forget, like and subscribe down below. You know, obviously help us with the YouTube side of things. Hey, head on over to geordieintelligence.co.uk, support the channel, and most importantly, have a great weekend and take care of yourselves. Ta-da.